Hey guys, Joel Baker again, back at Steve Lander's Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Little Rock, Arkansas. Today we're going to go over some of the top mods you want to do, modifications to your Jeep if you get one, that just kind of help you enjoy your Jeep a little bit better. One of the first things we're going to talk about today is when you get into Jeep and off-roading, one of the most important things you need to get right off the bat as soon as you can is a winch. And we've said this before, the reason you want to get a winch is because if you go out and go play off-road and you get in a situation where you're stuck and you happen to be by yourself, you got to have a way to get back out. Big tires, big lift aren't always going to get you back out of whatever you're in. So it's always good to get a winch and have it hooked up on the front of your Jeep. There's several different ways to go about doing that. You can get an aftermarket bumper to go on the front and house the winch in it, and we'll carry it that way. It's a little bit more expensive to do it that way because you have to buy the winch and you have to buy the bumper. For some people, that's the way they want to do it. Other people that are trying to do it more cost conscious can't afford to do it that way. So we're going to show you another option here in just a second that has a plate on it that mounts to a factory bumper. So that way you're only buying a few things instead of buying the whole thing at once. But a winch gives you the capability to pull yourself out should you get stuck. I mean, you can attach it to a tree, a Jeep, another, whatever you want to try and mount to something to be able to pull you back out. It's got a separate control that you can use either wirelessly or with a remote that will reel the winch back in and pull your vehicle out of wherever it's stuck from. So there's basically two kinds of cable right now. There's steel cable, which has been around for years. Steel cable is very durable, it's very strong. It's worked forever. I mean, that's been the way guys have used forever. But the downfalls to steel cable winch is it gets lots of little barbs off of it that will cut your hand. It's a real danger if you get your hand cut near the opening of the winch where it's coming in, it pinching your hand and severing fingers off, stuff like that. If it breaks while it's under tension, it can swing around and take out a windshield or hurt people. I mean, it's a very secure way to winch somebody out, but it's got a lot of downfalls to it and a lot of dangers to it. Whereas the new synthetic cable is capable of pulling the same amount of load, same amount of weight. If it breaks while it's under load, it's just going to fall to the ground. It's not going to swing out and get anybody. And it's just a braided soft cable, so if you're running your hand over it with gloves or something, you're not going to get a big piece of metal stuck in your hand as it's going through. Okay guys, here we have Jess's Jeep. Again, adding a winch to a bumper is not always as expensive as trying to get a whole new bumper and whole new setup. This is actually a factory Jeep JK bumper. He did cut the ends off, put some end caps on it. But Jess went and got this plate from Rock Hard 4x4, and it mounts a winch directly to your factory bumper. Instead of having to go get a whole new setup, a whole new bumper, and spend all that extra money, you can just get this simple plate. Again, the winch bolts straight to it, and you're able to do the same thing you are with the others, and it's nice and secure and a good way to recover. Also on his Jeep is we're going to show you that steel cable that's out there. His is still pretty new. It doesn't have a lot of the barbs on it and stuff. Again, a very safe, secure way of doing stuff. You just got to take precautions with it that you don't have to necessarily do as much with the soft cable. But it is a very secure way to do it. Always wear gloves when you're messing with a steel cable, winching it in or out. Make sure you keep your fingers clear of the rollers and stuff so you don't get anything pinched in there. But again, a very solid, very secure, bulletproof way to get a winch on your Jeep and be able to get out of different situations should you get into them. Okay guys, another mod we're going to go over today is, not all mods are big, crazy, expensive mods. Some are, real easy and cheap. They're just a better way, easier way to do things. One of them that's out right now, it's genius. I don't know why people hadn't done this before. Go to Home Depot, Walmart, any of these places got these panel carriers. They're like $6-7. If you're going to take the doors off of your Jeep, sometimes they're really heavy, they're big, depending on how tall you are, they're kind of awkward to get off by yourself. This makes it a whole lot easier. Real simple, you just open the door, roll your window down, of course, you disconnect all your electronics and your strap and everything. And now, normally, if you don't have one of these, you're wrestling around trying to fight it and trying to pick up the whole door and get it off of there. With one of these, you simply just slide it under the bottom down there, just reach up and pull, and it takes the whole door off, and it's help holding that weight right there and makes it a lot easier to get it on and off. So again, not all mods are big, complicated, expensive things to do. I mean, it's just an easier way to get your doors on and off your Jeep. All right guys, another thing that to me is a big deal on a stock JK, the factory headlights are very, very dim, very hard to see at night. They don't produce a lot of light. It's a very dull yellow color that just doesn't give you a big field of view out in front of you when you're driving down the roads. A really great mod or upgrade is to change out your stock headlights to an LED headlight. There's several different styles out there. Most of them are simply just plug and play. You take off the grill, take off the bezel around there, pull your old headlight out, plug the new headlight in, put it back and put it back on. But you'll be amazed at just changing out these headlights how much more light you're able to have driving down the road. I mean, you can see deer. It's a wider field of vision on the side. It's a further field of vision down the road in front of you. A much safer alternative to the factory headlights. It's a lot more light. It's something I would definitely recommend looking at in the future. Okay guys, the next thing we're going to go over, another real important mod for any Jeep, is to have recovery gear. I mean, recovery gear will also make a big difference. Even if you don't have a winch, if there's somebody else out there with you, you can use it to pull yourself out. Here we've got just some simple recovery gear that most people should carry. First thing is a tree strap. A tree strap is simply a very short tow rope. It looks very similar to other tow ropes. What this is for is should you need to go, if you're by yourself and want to winch yourself out, you wrap this around the tree. It comes back with the loops on the end. Wrap it around the tree. Take your D-ring or your shackle here. Slide it through there as it's hooked to the tree. And then you mount your winch line or whatever you're pulling with to this, so it's pulling against the tree. It's not going to damage the tree or cut into it. We're going to try and tread lightly and keep everything as we found it. It'll help save the tree or save anything else you're hooked to from messing it up as you're pulling against it. Another thing goes along with that, again, is a tow rope. Tow rope is just simply, if you don't have a winch, hook this up to a shackle on your rig or a hook or something similar, and then you hook it to the D-ring or shackle of another rig to help pull. Works the same as a winch line, but instead of mechanically, you're just backing one Jeep up to pull the other Jeep up. So tow rope's a good thing to have. Always have a good set of gloves with you. Snatch block. Man, these are great. Let's say you drive up in the woods and you've got a truck or a big heavy rig stuck in something that weighs a lot more than your Jeep does. Most of our Jeeps have got an 8,000 or 9,000 pound winch. It may not be enough to pull out something heavier, or if you're really stuck and need more power, this actually multiplies the power of the winch and doubles it, depending on how you set it up. But you set a tree saver up to a tree, you run your winch line from your rig up to this, back to whatever else you're pulling off, and it will turn an 8,000 pound winch into a 16,000 pound winch just by adding an extra pulley. So a snatch block like this is great to help with stuff like that. Also, depending on where you're going, it's always good to have a shovel with you. If you're stuck in some rock or something, loose rock, you need to dig out a little bit so you've got a little more room to work. Get you a good shovel to carry with you. Axes are good for if you come across some down trees or something like that. You need to help clear them out of the way. You can't carry a big chainsaw. It's always good to have an axe to help clean up some of the mess that should be around, or limbs on the side that you want to keep from scratching other people's rigs. Just trim up the trails as you go along. Fire extinguishers. Everybody should have a fire extinguisher in their rig. If something happens, you want to have it on board, so if there is a fire, you can maybe help get it put out before it spreads and takes out somebody's whole Jeep. Always make sure if you've got one of these, it doesn't matter if you got a cheaper one from big box store or something, or you got one of the real nice expensive ones, always check it every once in a while to make sure it's still got pressure and it's still good and viable. Worst thing you can do is get out there and have a fire and try and get it and nothing comes out of it. So keep that checked a couple times a year and make sure it's got pressure. If you swing around real quick, another great thing to have on board is an onboard air compressor if you can. You don't have to have one wired in, but if you have one that's portable that you can hook up to your battery, or if you have a wired in system, it makes it a lot easier for airing up, airing down tires on trails, so you've got less likelihood of popping a tire while you're out there. Also helps with inflating matches or anything like that you go camping. Onboard air is a big thing to have in your rig if you can do it. Okay, another one of the big things that you want to do to your Jeep, first of all, when you take the doors off and the top off, that is by far the best time to enjoy your Jeep. After all, that's what you got it for, is the availability to be able to do that. It looks great. You got lots of sun coming in on you, and it's awesome. But if you're in town and running around, you've got nothing over your head, you're going to burn up, especially in a black Jeep like this and sitting on the pavement when it's 100 degrees outside. You're going to get really hot. So we're going to show you a couple different ways you can add some shade to you but still have that open air feeling and feel like you've got everything open and not getting sunburnt near as bad. So here's one completely open. We're going to flip around right behind us right back here. This is an older CJ7, but it's got what's called a safari top on it. You still get the open air feel, but it keeps the sun directly off of your head, so you're not getting burnt while you're sitting at a stoplight in town. Also with the safari style top, this is still waterproof on the top. So if it's raining and you're driving, you're not going to have rain coming in on top of you and getting everything wet inside. You'll still get sun coming from the side, yes, but I mean it does protect you some from the elements as you're driving down the road. But it provides a lot of shade doing it that way. If you come up to this Jeep up here, another option is called a spider shade top. A spider shade top simply just uses bungee balls to wrap around the roll bar and the loops up front. It provides you shade as you're driving down the road. It's kind of like trampoline material. You can get these in a bunch of different colors, but it keeps the sun from beating down on you and burning you up as you're riding around town. Now, it's not waterproof, and I mean, they're great about turning one water drop into about 100 water drops, but it does protect you and provide some shade as you're running around town. Very easy to put on and off, and actually you can keep them installed underneath a hard top or a soft top and not ever have to take them off if you don't want to. Okay guys, another one of the mods we're going to talk about today is that kind of goes hand in hand with jeeping and off-road is camping. There are a lot of guys that like to camp and do overland trips and stay out for extended periods of time. There's some guys that just go for a night and take their families. I mean, it's a really good way to enjoy your Jeep and get it out and use it as it's intended to use. Primitive camping is very easy. You just get some small little tents, hammocks, whatever, throw them in your Jeep and go. A lot of the guys that do more extreme overland rides and stuff like that will come up with a system similar to this that has an actual tent built into a rack on top, and they carry their tent with them everywhere they go.
Come see us at Steve Lander's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram above the Rave Theater, only in Little Rock.